Oh, good. I got a bunch of young scientists up front, right?
Right.
No? Shake your head. Come on. There you go. Oh, come on. Yeah, I'm a teacher, so I understand about students that don't want. Yes, I am. Yeah. And don't worry, I will get you to talk. All right. I like to start with this. We're going to talk about dinosaurs. Are they in the Bible?
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Okay. When we were young, we were told a story about a frog which turned into a prince. We were told it was a fairy tale, right? Remember that story? The frog to a prince, and the princess came up and kissed the frog, and he turned into a prince? Ooh, nasty. I wouldn't kiss a frog. So, but we get to junior high and high school, we go, now it's evolution. All right? Still a fairy tale, but they call it evolution. So remember, it's better to trust in the Lord, what God says in His Word, than to put your confidence in man, because it changes. So, were there dinosaurs in the Bible? Now, we've already answered that. Yes, thank you. Okay, were there dinosaurs? So we got to look at the evidence, right? We can't just make up stories. We can't say, yeah, dinosaurs are in the Bible, but I don't know where. I'll show you. So here's what we're looking at. We all look at the same data. Here's the data we're working with. Bones. Now, I've had Christians actually look at me in the eye and tell me, well, there was no such thing as dinosaurs. What are all those things? You know, those are bones. They came from an organism from someplace. What we do is the fossil remains of a creature that we've never seen, and we try to put skin on it, try to put something on it so that we can make some sense out of it, give it a name. Is that what they were called? I don't know. All right. So let's look at some of the evidence that we have, the different kinds. What? T-Rex, very good. Do you know the name of this one? No, I know, Tyrannosaurus. They gave it a person name. This is the most complete Tyrannosaurus Rex ever found. It's like 98% complete. That never happens, all right? Its name is Sue, named after my wife. It was an honor, a great honor to be, yes, Sue. So it's a Tyrannosaurus Rex. Have you ever noticed on a Tyrannosaurus Rex that his eyes point forward? Just think about that for a second. Most lizards, most reptiles, eyes are on either side. They can see this half or this half. Tyrannosaurus Rex can go, can binocular vision. Would that make him a better hunter? Oh, yes, yes. And I think he's got teeth enough to swallow stuff. All right, how about this one? Brachiosaurus, there you go. Excellent. Those are the long necks, right? Those are real tall. He probably looks like this. Okay? I don't know if you've ever noticed this, but these can be up to 130 feet long and weigh up to 110 tons. And they don't run anywhere, just so you know. They walk everywhere. Okay? And if you notice, if you ever watch them, and it's something I just learned not too long ago, is that their front legs bend back. So it's their front legs are like this, and they go like this. And their back legs go like this. All right? And you watch them. They've done a lot of studies on these. They found that at their tail, at the base of their tails, they have a big long muscle that attaches so that every time, and it attaches to their hips, so that every time they take a step, their tail goes whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. That protects them from predators. You wouldn't want to get hit by that tail, right? Okay. Mosquitoes, that would be a good one, yep. Because how else are they going to slap them? So, okay, this is a Pachycephalosaurus. Pachycephalosaurus are the ones that have the big domes on their heads, like this. And they go, and they bump into each other, like bighorn sheep. Okay? But that dome up there, that bone that's up there, is about 10 inches thick. So they could bump into some pretty strong stuff, right? How about this one? Stegosaurus. Thank you very much. That's excellent. Now, one thing we know about Stegosaurus, they could look like this, all right? We don't know what those plates were on there for. We have never found one. We don't even know if that's how they attach. Okay, we don't know that's how it attaches, because every time they find it, the plates are nearby, but they're not attached. I don't know. Maybe they were dissipated the heat, or I don't know. But he did have nice big spikes on his tail, so that was for defense. We find those. Here's one of my favorites. A what? Triceratops, there you go. That's what it looks like. Big, all kinds of different, they have the big frill on their back, right? And behind their head. And they were friendly though. You could probably ride one of these guys. You know, they were nice. They didn't eat meat or anything. They don't have any teeth, notice? They don't have any teeth. Just like a beak. So, how do we look at these things? How do we look at dinosaurs? So, if we have the data, the bones that we have, we can look at it one of two ways. We can go assumption A, where we start and look at the data, and we come up with evolution. We say, oh, here's a bone. It looks like it's millions and millions of years old, and it fits in here. I mean, it's a logical progression when you think about it. They just took God out of the equation, so you can have as many years as you want. If we start with assumption B and we say the Earth is 6,000 years old, it's not very old, we come up with creation. So those are our two choices. That's how you need to think. You look at the data, fit it into your, and every scientist in the world has one of those two worldviews. It's either or. Okay, so I put this together a long time ago. You remember Andy Hudson? Yep. Andy and I put this together. The trajectory of the Bible. Let's look at what a Bible says is the history, okay, of the world. The original creation was perfect and complete, right? It started off at a high level. It was very good, remember? Then all creation was marred by sin. The physical earth was cursed by means of the flood, and all creation is now subject to corruption and decay. We are doing this. We are going downhill, right? And you can see that. Is there more disease today? Is there more genetics problems? Yep. Is there, everything is going down. And just think, when you think about that, think everything's getting worse and worse and worse. And yet we go out and we look at the Grand Canyon and we go, oh, what must it have looked like before? Man, I can't even imagine that. All right, so here's evolution. Start at time 0. We're going to do the same thing. Except in evolution, where does it start? It says the process started with a big bang, down low. Then the first cell happened to come along by random chance, and since that time, random mutations have improved and diversified, species over time until today, when we have man. We are here. So we start low, move our way up. Now, you understand about the Big Bang, right? You ever read a definition of the Big Bang? First, this was in a cosmology book that they teach scientists in school. First, there was nothing, then there was something, and then it blew up, and that's how everything came about. So, they've got it worked out down to the last tenth of a millionth of a second, okay? But that's how they do it. Doesn't seem to work for me, but all right. So which glasses do you use? Do you use man's theories or do you use the Holy Bible? So let's look at both sides of the story, all right? We're going to look at both sides of the story this morning. Here's the evolutionary view of dinosaurs. They first evolved 235 million years ago, okay? No human ever lived with dinosaurs. They were a very successful group of animals. They ruled the earth for 65 million years and then they vanished, okay? I love this evolutionary tree. It's not the one I ever used, but okay. We start with, there's the goo, and there's you and me up there. Okay, so goo to you, okay. They had all these things in there, and they were very successful for 65. They ruled the earth. They were there. 65 million years ago, they disappeared. We'll talk about why they disappeared in just a second here, but some evolved into birds, so no need to worry. They are not totally extinct. So that robin in your backyard in the springtime used to be a Tyrannosaurus Rex. I'm just telling you, okay? All right, so whatever happened to the good old dinosaurs? Now I should mention this. These are, have proposed these theories. Now they're in cartoon form, but they proposed these in the last 50 years. There's hundreds and hundreds of articles, but these are the last 50 years, the most common ones that showed up. Let me back up here, okay? None of them include a worldwide flood, not one. So why did they die off? Well, the king of beasts, the dinosaur, had so much to eat because of the tropical conditions, they died of constipation. Now, it's very logical. I mean, think about it. It could happen, okay? They died of constipation. They didn't have any pharmacists around to help them. You know, I'm sorry. They stuffed themselves to death. Okay, now, through numerous federally funded, okay, I should say your tax dollars, yours and mine, studies have shown that large animals produce and expel very large amounts of methane gas. They died of air pollution. Okay. They studied a moose. A moose could run a small city for about a year on just the gas he expels in a year. So, yes, they died of air pollution. Okay, another theory that came up is that they ate all the available food and then they died of starvation because it was all gone, right? Everything was gone. That seems only logical. How about they all froze in the last ice age? Yes, yeah. They were skiing, of course, but there it goes, yeah. They died in the last, one of the last, they had multiple ice ages, okay. There was one right after the flood, just so you know, good time frame. So then the most popular is that a large meteorite hit the earth. Now you've all heard that one, right? Large meteorite hit the earth, killing all the dinosaurs. I want to know what happened to all the birds and the bunny rabbits and the deer and all that kind of stuff. Why did it only kill dinosaurs? Because all those things are still here, right? All right, that doesn't work. Now, creation view of dinosaurs. They first existed around 6,000 years ago, appearing on day 6 of creation week. If they were the flying dinosaurs, they were on day 5, but okay. So you got 6,000 years ago. They lived with man beginning on day 6 of creation week. This is an actual photo from Noah's Ark. It was found, buried someplace, but nice photo, right? Oh, it's beautiful. And notice something you very rarely or never see. Dinosaurs walking on to the ark. They were there, just like everything else. All right, many died in Noah's flood. Now, I know why Tyrannosaurus died. I've got this one figured out. He could not tread water with those little tiny arms. Really? I mean, think about it for a second. He's got them big legs and his little tiny arms going like, no, he's a goner. Okay. Now, those dinosaurs that survived on the ark, they came off the ark, lived in the world with people, and eventually they died out. So we've got the dodo bird and the woolly mammoths coming off, going, extinction might be sooner than we think. Okay. So here's these coming off the ark. So let's look at the evidence that we have. There's three sources. We have biblical evidence that we're going to look at of dinosaurs. There's some special cases in Scripture. And did man and dinosaurs live together? Well, sure they did, but we got to have some evidence for that. So, now, you know, or you should know, that most dinosaurs are all different sizes. Do you know the average size of a dinosaur? You take all the families together and all the different dinosaurs, the average size is about the size of a dog, like a sheepdog, maybe. All right? And you're going, wait a minute. I see the big Tyrannosaurus Rex, come on. No, there are some really little tiny ones, dinosaurs. But the average size, okay, was small. We got flying ones, we got big animals today. We got giraffes that are 15 to 17 feet tall. There's man, little tiny guy right there, okay? And you don't even want to talk about a blue whale. That's bigger than any of the dinosaurs. And it's still around today, right? So they were there. So I'm going to ask you, how do you fit the dinosaurs into the Bible? Well, you really don't. You don't have to. Okay, they're there. You just have to understand how you use the Bible to explain them. Okay, you have to just know how to use them. So let's look at how they were formed on day 6. All right? They were all, did you know Tyrannosaurus Rex ate grass and leaves? Even when them big old toofies? He ate. He was a vegetarian like everybody else. So they were friendly. Adam and Eve could have walked around and went, hi, T, how you doing? You know, he could have talked to him. Man sinned. They fell into sin too because of man. Now they became carnivorous. They attacked each other. And everything changed after that. Then the flood came along. About 1,600 years later, the flood came and buried most of all those big dinosaurs, those bones that we see. Now, what happens if you don't see something for a long time? Well, that memory fades, right? There's things that happened when I was in school, I can't remember. It faded. It's gone. Those dinosaurs used to be common, where you'd go out and say, hey, look at that one, you know, or watch them. You could watch them run. But after a while, no. And then we start making up things because we try to put together in our mind what it is. But in 1800, the first bone was found. Now, the guy that dug it up said, what is that thing? And they had never seen one before. And they put it together best they could. He gave it the name Dinosaur, or terrible lizard. So, in 1841, that's when dinosaur got into the dictionary. Now, in 1828, we had computer and locomotive and rock. I mean, there's all kinds of things. that are in there. But in 1841. Now, people ask, well, why don't I find the word dinosaur in the Bible? I mean, really, it should be there if they were available. Well, think about this. King James was written in 1611. The word dinosaur doesn't show up to 1841, 230 years later. Can I go back and just plug them in? No, I can't change Scripture, all right? And you can't either. So we have to look at it in a different light. Now, do we see dinosaurs? We see them all the time. When you go to a Chinese restaurant, right? Those are dragons. Stylized, okay, so I admit, they're stylized, but they're dragon legends. How about this? The flag of Wales. What does that look like? A dragon. Oh, God's word has the word dragon in it. The word tanine. It's used 21 or 30 times in the Old Testament, 21 times as a land dragon, 3 times as a serpent, which I think is interesting because that's when Moses was before Pharaoh and he took his rod and what did he do? He threw it in front of them and it turned into a what? People in the foot? A what? A serpent, right? A snake. It's the word tanine. Okay? Let me tell you something. The Bible says that Moses' serpent swallowed the other snake starting from where? The tail end. Snakes don't do that. Okay? But if it was some kind of a dragon, that would be not unusual. All right? So, that word is there. In fact, in Isaiah 43, it says, the beasts of the field shall honor me, the dragons and the owls. We know what owls are? Everybody? Should we know what dragons are? God wrote his word, his Bible, so that we would understand it, right? It's a word that people understand. Because I give waters in the wilderness and rivers in the desert to give my drink to my people, my chosen. How about Jeremiah 14:6? And the wild asses did stand in the high places. They snuffed up the wind like dragons. Their eyes did fail because there was no grass. So we have dragons. It's in Scripture. It talks about dragons. The word is there multiple times. We have dragons in our history, legends about dragons. Girls, you read stories about Prince Charming that comes on a white horse, and he does what to the fair princess? He rescues her from a dragon, a fire-breathing dragon, right? And you all go, oh, that's such a good story. Right? Yeah, it is. It's a good story. But we have dragons. We don't think anything of it. We look at it and say, okay, there was a dragon. Those legends had to come from somewhere. They just didn't make them up. And we'll talk about fire-breathing dragons. I think there were some. Job 40:15. We have evidence in the Bible. It says, look, behold at, oh, here we go. Behold, behemoth. That's not a picture of me. Okay, behold, behemoth, which I made along with you, which feeds on grass like an ox. Now, behemoth is not the word tanine, not dragon. It's totally different. It goes on. What strength he has in his loins, what power in his muscles, the muscles of his belly. You kind of get the idea that this guy is kind of a strong dinosaur. He's got some muscles. His bones are tubes of bronze. Big, heavy, strong. His limbs are like rods of iron. Whoops. He is the chief of the ways of God. He's a big animal. He ranks first among the, he's the biggest animal. All right? His tail sways like a cedar tree. All right? Now, just so you know, I don't want you to be confused. I put in a cedar tree. Now, think about this for a second. Does that look like it's going to blow down in the wind? No, that's a stiff, heavy tree, right? His tail sways like a cedar. The NIV Bible says it's possibly the hippopotamus or the elephant. Wait, put on your thinking caps. I want you to picture in your mind an elephant walking north. Okay, I'll help you. Walking north, here we go. An elephant, that's a northbound elephant. What does the southbound end of the northbound elephant look like? Does that look like a cedar tree to you? I mean, that looks like a broom to me. Doesn't look like a cedar tree. Okay, how about a hippopotamus? Here's a northbound hippopotamus. I keep them all going the same direction. Okay, a northbound hippopotamus. Now the southbound end of the northbound hippopotamus looks like this. It kind of looks like a propeller more than a cedar tree. I do not think it's a cedar tree. All right? So, we have this huge tail. Does this look like it would be right? Ladies? No, I didn't think so. How about this, guys? No. Oh, that poor hippopotamus would drown in the water, wouldn't he? He'd be going, whoa, 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 wait, sink right to the bottom. Okay? It's more like this, right? Okay, this makes more sense. Let me just put this in here. Whoops, there we go. This is the largest dinosaur, the Argentinosaurus. It's 140 tons, I think. I mean, it's huge. These are gigantic. All right, so I like this one. In the book of Job, God told Job to behold Behemoth. It was probably also a good idea to beware Behemoth, because he might step on you and squish you. So we have Behemoth. That's a different word. It's not a dragon. It's a different animal. Here's another one. Can you draw out Leviathan with a fish hook? Here's a swimming, something in the water. Leviathan is not Tanin, okay? It's not a dragon, but it's another kind of an animal. Lay your hand on him, remember the battle, you will not do it again. Sounds like he's pretty tough, doesn't it? Yep. Out of his mouth go burning ooh, is this the fire-breathing dragon? Sparks of fire leap forth. Out of his nostrils, smoke goes forth. His breath kindles coals, and a flame goes forth from his mouth. Sounds like a fire-breathing dragon to me, doesn't it? Yep. Nothing on earth is like him, one made without fear. I tried to think of dinosaurs, okay, that this would fit. And I came up with two, but I've changed my mind, and I'll show you the third one. A chronosaur is 17 meters long, which is about, 17 times 3, let's just say 60 feet, somewhere in there, just under 60 feet. That doesn't quite fit. Lepleurodon is 25 meters long. I wouldn't want to catch that on a fish hook either, but he looks a little more scary, doesn't he? But he swims all the time, so it'd be kind of hard to get, you got to have one that comes out on the land and swims. Let me give you one more little blurb here from Job. Who can open the doors to his face? Terror is round about his teeth. The rows of shields are his pride, shut up with a close seal. One is so near to another that no air can come between them. He's got plates on his side. They are joined one to another. They clasp each other so that they cannot be separated. Want to see the new animal I think Leviathan is? His name is Super Croc, Sarcosuchus imperator. There's his mouth. I wouldn't want to meet that on a lonely night. Okay. All right. And he's got a big bulb. Notice the big bulb on the end of his nose? That might have something to do with the fire breathing, but we'll talk about that in a second. So here's what he looks like. Plates along the side, swims in the water. He's got all the considerations. Job goes on to say in verses 22 to 29, it says, the mighty are afraid of his rising. They are beside themselves from the crashing. Can you imagine this walking near you? Oh. The sword overtakes him, but will not hold firm. The spear, the dart, and the javelin also, they don't stick. He counts iron as straw, bronze as rotten wood. An arrow cannot make him flee. Sling stones are turned by him into stubble. The darts are counted as straw. He laughs at the shaking of the javelin. I am firmly convinced that's got to be Leviathan. All right? We'll find out when we get to heaven, but it might be something else even worse, but this kind of fits. So are there fire-breathing dragons? Well, we have these, that there's a long bone on their skull, all right? Goes from here all the way down here. And you know what's interesting? They have two little tubes that run all the way from here all the way down to here. We have things like the Bombardier Beetles. Have you ever seen a Bombardier Beetle? Tonight I'll show you one in action. They have two little tubes that come out on little turrets, and they come out and they just send out boiling hot water, okay, which produces smoke. Okay? How about we have multiple kinds of these. No one knows what that bony projection is used for. They have no clue. Now, did man and dinosaurs live together? Could they have lived together? Well, let's see if there's some evidence, okay? Now, here's a geologic timescale that evolutionists have devised. All right, it talks about the different layers, Cambrian, Ordovician, Silurian, you come to my class, you get to memorize all that. So man is way up here, okay, in the rise of man in the recent times. Dinosaurs are here in the Mesozoic, Cretaceous, okay? There's a few down here, but Triassic, Jurassic, and Cretaceous are the ones that they find most of the dinosaurs in, those levels. So man could not have lived, according to them, with the dinosaurs. I understand that from their point of view. But then we have evidence like this. Guys in front, you guys are the paleontologists. What does that look like to you? What? A foot? Is that what you said? Yep. Girls, you got to speak up a little more. Yeah, that's a foot, right? It's a human foot. How do you put a footprint in stone? Do you jump up and down? No. Nope. You can only do it when the stone is soft, right? After the flood. So this was a human footprint. This was found in a Permian layer. Let me just back up, show you where the Permian layer is. Here's Permian. Uh-oh. Was man supposedly around? No. Man's way up here. Okay? This is a Permian down here. It was even before the dinosaurs. All right, let's go there. What does this look like? A footprint. All right. It's in stone again. And it's got the perfect shape. Do you know our footprint is very distinct? If you're a monkey, what does your footprint look like? Just like your hand. Their big toes over here. That's because they grip. All right? If I put you in a tree, you can't grip with your toes. Okay, I'm just telling you. This is down in Paluxy River. This is in Texas. And it was alongside and in some dinosaur tracks. How do you get footprints that the dinosaurs are 65 million years before you. Okay, that doesn't work, does it? How about this? If I asked you to draw something and I just described it and you had no clue what it looks like, could you draw it perfectly in dimensions? No, it'd be all over the place. I could bring a skeleton in here, put it up here and say, okay, let's put the skin on it, and you tell me what this is. I'd get, however many people are in here, I'd get all those different kinds of answers. But this, I know it's a little hard to see, this is a dinosaur etched in rock, along with man, other animals are etched in it. They're all at the same time period. They put them together. Somebody saw a dinosaur and etched it in there. How about this? This is at the bottom of the Grand Canyon. What does that look like? A dinosaur, doesn't it? Doesn't that look like a dinosaur? An Indian, more than likely, etched that into the stone. It's not recent. It's not somebody going, I'm going to pull a fast one on those scientists. Nope. It's aged. It's been there. How about this one? A flying, this is in South Africa, a pterodactyl etched in rock. And these are called ichthyostones. Ichthyostones from South America. They etched some of these are fake, I admit, but some of them are real. That perfect, now look at this, how many different dinosaurs on there? In proportion, with their same characteristics, with the plates up on a Stegosaurus. Right here. Okay, Triceratops. Small legs on a Tyrannosaurus. Long neck. Tails. Okay, somebody saw them. So, let's look at this. These are dinosaur footprints, right there. 3 toes in the rock. The human footprint is inside the dinosaur footprint. Did humans and dinosaurs live together? They would have had to. Both were running. They may have been lost in Noah's flood. That's usually how, the rain started. The rain's coming down. They were trying to get to higher ground. Everything was wet, muddy. Then everything got buried right away and preserved like that. So, let me ask you, are there dinosaurs living today? Could be. Technically, they're not dinosaurs. Dinosaurs have their feet go straight down underneath them. If they're four-legged, straight, the legs come down. Reptiles today walk like this, right? They're bent elbows. So they're not quite dinosaurs, but did man and dinosaur live together? I would have to say yes. But let's look. Are there some pretty scary creatures out there today? Well, there's a Komodo Dragon. Notice his legs are a little different. Okay, that's one of the characteristics. You guys don't want this as a pet. No. They're big. They're about this big. And if they bite you, their mouth is full of bacteria, just full of bacteria. They're very dangerous. How about these guys? Alligators and crocodiles. Now, those are reptiles, but you wouldn't want to go visit these guys. I mean, think about it. They're all sitting down there smiling, going, yeah, come on, come visit. I'm really hungry. How about these guys? Now, these look like dinosaurs. When you think about it, this is an iguana. This is a chameleon. This is a frilled lizard. I like these guys. When they get scared, this frill comes up and they go like this and open their mouth and they go, oh man, that looks like he's pretty big. He's just a little tiny thing. I mean, he's only about that big. All right. How about this is a Chuckwalla lizard, or a marine iguana. Notice the spikes off his back. Very dinosaur-like. This is a Chuckwalla Lizard. And these are iguanas of all different colors and sizes and shapes, but they all have, notice the plates along the back, just like the Stegosaurus. So, another original photograph from the Garden of Eden. I don't know where they got the camera, but they could have been, are dinosaurs brightly colored like this? Who knows? Could they have been? Sure. Look at the birds that we have around. Are they all different colors? Yeah. A lot of things, fish in the sea are all different colors. Why couldn't dinosaurs? And would Adam and Eve have been playing with the dinosaurs? Sure, why not? They were plant eaters. And this could have been before Adam and Eve sinned. They would have been very friendly. So remember, it is better to trust in the Lord than to put your confidence in man. Much, much, much better. And let me give you this, young people. Remember now your Creator in the days of your youth. Don't forget Him. And stick up for Him, all right? All right? You're the advertising department. I like that, okay? The administration is God. You're the advertising department, so advertise for Him. But everybody else, this all goes for you too. Because today, you're younger than you'll be tomorrow. Just to remind you. So you're in your days of your youth. You can't forget Him, all right? All right, are there any questions? Left a couple minutes here. Yes, sir.
They might wonder, how did they get so big back in that time period?
Well, it's my understanding that man lived many, many years. Methuselah was 800 and some years old. All right, that's a normal year's time. If man lived that long, animals would live that long. I mean, I'm just making an assumption there. But here's one thing. Reptiles, we know reptiles get bigger every year. So if I went to my family reunion and I'm a dinosaur, all right, I'm Behemoth, all right, and I go to the family reunion and I say, Mom, you've grown. You got bigger this year. And she'd go, why, thank you, son. That's nice of you to say. Yes, she wouldn't slap me, or anything else, because reptiles get bigger every year. So if they lived several hundred years, how big would they have gotten? All right? The big ones that we find, those were old dinosaurs. Would they have been on the ark? And the answer has to be no. Who would Noah have taken on the ark? Young animals. Because when they come out, what do they have to do? Grow up and have families, right? Exactly. Very good. They would have to grow up and have families. So are they going to take an old codger like me on there? No. They're going to take young guys, like you guys, yep, on the ark. So, that's a good question, but when you think through it in a biblical way, it makes sense, right? Now, are the young ones tiny or big? Tiny, they're smaller, yep. The biggest egg we've ever seen is about the size of a football. So some dinosaurs started off about the size of a football, even if it was a big one. Tyrannosaurus Rex or a Brachiosaurus or an Argentinosaurus or any of those started no bigger than this. All right? Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
When evolutionists believe that we evolved from a cell and now we're humans, do you still believe that we're evolving into something else? I mean, are we
Yes.
still evolving?
Yes.
They think we're going to evolve too.
They have no clue. Yeah, they still think we're evolving. They still think, we could get better and better and better. Now, here's one of the things that the evolutionists don't like it when you say we started off with a single cell. Oh, no, that's kind of hard to believe. Yes, think so? Okay, but we did come from monkeys. I mean, but logically, their theory has to start with these organisms coming, chemicals coming together to make a single cell. So you've got that idea. Evolution by itself is just a purely random chance. So it'd be like if I took a bag of Legos, they're all separated, and I have this big bag, and I shake it, and I dump it on the table. Is it going to build a building that looks like anything? You might get a couple stuck together somehow, but okay, so I throw them in the bag, shake it for 1,000,000 years, and dump it out. Is it going to be anything? No. Evolution says that by those, there's some random chances that fit in there, and this got better. And then by random chances, because now you can't repeat this, okay? It gets better. And it gets better. And I always want to look at them and say, then can you explain to me how you get, you go from a single-celled organism that does just a division, they divide and then split, and you got two perfect copies, and they go from that to sexual reproduction? We got to have a male and a female? Did they randomly get put together over millions of years? And, oh, by the way, did they happen to be living in the same place? Because if this one lives in Africa and this one lives in North America, they're still not going to have any babies, right? And everything else has to match. You see what I mean? It's so far-fetched when you start looking at it in a closer, up-close look at things, and just using basic science, it doesn't go together. It just doesn't.
We were talking briefly about how they believe that birds evolved into dinosaurs because, well, scales would become feathers.
Feathers,
But
yeah.
feathers are design, and that's the one where they hate is design.
Oh, design, they don't like that, yes. Yeah, feathers are so intricate. You know, we got Velcro from feathers, because there's one side that has a little hook and another side, and the bird goes through and goes, puts them together so that he can fly. You've seen birds sit there and go, they're zipping up their Velcro, okay? They're putting it together. So his wing is all together. Now you look at a scale, all right? Cut off a fingernail. That's about as close as you're going to get. Cut off a fingernail. You look at that and tell me if you see Velcro in there. That's lightweight, that all different sizes, all different functions. There's some that are frilly for warmth. There's some for flight feathers. There's some for, there's just so many varieties that you go, a scale? It's hard to imagine. And it's hard to imagine for them, too. I got it, to tell you the truth, you know, they look at it, and if you really corner one of them, I don't know how it gets there. You go.
So I want to have Sarah's question. For the last 4,000 years, we have documented history
Yeah,
of actual literary.
literary history.
So, of that literary history of the last 4,000 years, we have, supposedly evolution is happening. So if evolution is happening this whole time, why is no animals evolved in the last 4,000 years? We have speciation or microevolution, but not evolution in the sense of changing kinds. So how do they get from that to evolution happening in the last 4,000 of observable science when we have increased diseases, mutations are happening, and DNA only changes worse as far as its genetic makeup, or
Right.
it's getting better.
Right.
So how do they actually reconcile that kind of information?
Well, that's a very good question, and they recognize that. They said, we don't ever see this going on, so how do we do this? Stephen Jay Gould, who was a paleontologist at Harvard, said, "Ha, I've got it." It's called punctuated equilibrium, where a dinosaur laid an egg, and when it hatched, it was a bird. You wouldn't see any changes between there, and it happened very quickly, so, we can have plenty of, doesn't have to take a long period of time. They believe that kind of stuff.
So where's the evidence then?
There's none.
That's my point.
Absolutely none.
So they're just speculating.
Like my wife who taught me how to read the Rudyard Kipling stories, it's a just so story. Just so says, well, if that's not how it is, I'll change the story. And if that's not it, I'll just add a few more years. If that's not it, I'll just keep, all they do is change the story and add more years.
So you get to a point where it's like so many years, it's so incomprehensible that we can't even understand it.
Exactly.
Versus we're just confused as they are.
Yeah, exactly.
Possible.
Yeah, it's just a just so story. You know how the elephant got his trunk, right? See, she made me read these, which is okay, and it's fine. I use them all the time now. The elephant had this little stubby nose. He went looking, and he was walking around, and the gray, green, greasy Limpopo? Limpopo River, yeah. He was going along, and he was asking all these animals, how can I be da-da-da-da-da? And he went to the Mr. Crocodile, who was sitting in the water. Yes. And he said, "Come closer, I will tell you, come closer." And he latched onto his nose, and the little elephant pushed and pulled and pulled and pulled, and the crocodile pulled and pulled and pulled, and guess what? The elephant has a nice long nose. Okay. Any other evolutionary questions you'd like me to answer?
What about radiocarbon dating?
I don't date radiocarbons. No, I understand. I'm sorry. I just had to throw that in there. Okay, no, I understand. That's a good question. Radiocarbon dating is where you take radioactive carbon-14. It's present in the air we breathe now, and it's in a very tiny amount. It's a very small amount. Carbon-12 is the normal carbon that we have around us. If you have an organic molecule, for instance, we know what the concentration of carbon-14 is in the air today. If I died today, we know how much carbon-14 is there. And we just keep track, and if we come back in 5,740 years, roughly, that's the half-life of carbon-14. So if there was 1 gram in me, it'd be a half gram then, all right? And it would hold true, all right? Because you know what I started with, and at the end of that time, none of us are going to measure it, but it would be true. Now, radiocarbon-14 is a accurate measurement. The problem is, if we have dinosaurs and we find a bone, all right? So we look at these bones. Now, you can't take rocks. Rocks have no carbon in them. But you take a bone, and you're going to radiocarbon date it. And they come back and they say, well, it's probably so many, millions of years old. Couple of problems. One, what did it start with? I mean, we weren't there, were we? So we don't know how much it is. And a little bit off at the beginning can make a huge difference in the number of years, right? So it could be either shorter or longer. The other thing is, did it etch out in the bone laying in the ground? Did water have any effect on it? Did weather have any effect? Freezing, thawing, all that kind of stuff. Did that have any effect on it? You don't know if that took some out. That didn't. There are so many variables in there. You can't use it. And besides, a half-life of 5,000 years, about at the most you could go, stretching it at the most, would be maybe 50,000 years. That's about it. Because it's in such tiny quantities, you keep cutting it in half, it gets to the point where you can't even detect it. So If you see something and they say, well, we had it radiocarbon dated at 1.3 million years, that's impossible. What they did was they looked at the bone and they said, what kind of rocks was this buried in? Oh, okay, I know, it's 1.3 million years. And they look at the rocks and say, what was buried in the rocks? Oh, those bones. Oh, that's 1.3 million years. I know how that is. And that's how they date things. And you can take samples, and I have friends that are scientists that have done this, taken samples and send it to separate samples to different labs, and you'll get 12 different answers. Yeah, it's just crazy.
We will stop there. If you have more questions, you'll do it tonight. Be back at 6 o'clock, and you'll be on the subject of
Biology.
biology.
There's a pamphlet back there about the radiocarbon dating, too. Feel free to
If you have
take
little
one.
kids in the nursery, be sure to get those first.